Well, welcome back. And I am interviewing today a very special guest. I've got Scott Lerner in the house. Scott is a fellow attorney here in the Champaign-Urbana area, and he's also running for judge. So thank you for being with me today, Scott.
Good to be here.
So Scott, why don't you just introduce yourself to everybody? I know you grew up around this area, is that right?
I grew up in Champaign, went to Champaign Central High School, went to law school here. My parents are both living in Champaign. Well, my father's dead, but my mother lives in Champaign.
So you've been here in this community for quite a long time. So tell me about your law practice.
Yes.
What kind of law do you practice? I know that you and I both practice family law, but do you practice any other areas?
Well, I primarily practice in criminal and family law. I also do juvenile, and I have a general practice, so I do other sorts of things, but that's the majority of my practice.
So I'm curious, Scott, what inspired you to run for judge?
Well, I see what a good judge could do a lot of good, and I see what good judges can do, and I'm hopeful that if I get elected, I will be able to help people. It's a chance for people to resolve differences in a peaceful way. It's a chance for people to get an impartial opinion, and I want to be a part of that.
So Scott, I was thinking about this today, and I think it's easy for attorneys like you and I to understand how judges can really affect the community, especially for other attorneys and also litigants that are coming into court. But what about all the people who aren't involved in the court system, or perhaps they don't think that they're going to be involved in the court system? You know, why should they be interested in who's judge?
Well, look, there's a couple of things. Number one, almost everybody is involved in the court system one way or another sometime in their life, if not them directly, somebody they know, whether it's a speeding ticket or some sort of civil resolution, a divorce, probate. So most people, I think, do have some contact with the court system. But even if you don't, I think that the court system shapes a lot of the community. So, you have people out protesting about things where, they don't feel that they're getting justice, and they're out having an impact on the community, both, can be positive, could be negative, however that is. And whether they're treated with respect, whether they receive justice, I think affects other people too.
So Scott, how do you think that your skill set that you have obtained as a practitioner for such a long time has given you the skill set that will transition to the bench?
Well, it's, I've had an opportunity to, over the years, to be in both the public and the private sector. I've had a chance to work for the Public Guardian's Office, the Vermilion County Public Defender's Office. I had the felony contract in Champaign. I had the juvenile contract in Champaign. So I've had the chance to represent both the poorest people, those people who are entitled to a public defender or appointed counsel, as well as wealthier people in private practice. I've done appellate work. The vast majority of the work I've done is in state courts within the Sixth Circuit. So I've had a lot of opportunity to deal with a wide variety of people.
So Scott, for the voters that might not be familiar with the Sixth Circuit, what counties are included in the Sixth Circuit in Illinois?
Let's see, Champaign County, Douglas County, Moultrie County, DeWitt County, Macon County. Hopefully I'm not missing one.
Is Pike County in the Sixth Circuit?
Oh, I am missing one.
Yeah,
Piatt County.
Piatt.
And I,
But you were
and I
running,
love Piatt County, by the way. My sister lives in Piatt County, and I've
but
just.
you're running for a seat in Champaign County, is that right?
Hmm? I'm
You're
sorry.
you're running for a seat in Champaign County.
No, it's a countywide. It's a countywide position, so I could be anywhere.
Got it. So, Scott, for those that maybe aren't familiar, when you run for judge, do you know what practice area that you will be appointed to be on the bench for?
I don't. It depends on where you're needed. Luckily, I think that my practice has been wide enough, and I have experience in enough areas where I think I could feel comfortable in any courtroom.
So, how was practicing with your father?
That's a great opportunity. Number one, because my father was a fantastic lawyer, but also, when you grow up with your father, you have a very limited view of who that person is. And I think when you see them in court, when you see them at work, you get to at least get to know a part of them that you might not otherwise know. So I feel very lucky to have had that opportunity.
Is what, I'm always curious, Scott, why people decide that they even want to go to law school in the first place. I mean, for you, you are a child of an attorney. I mean, was that experience what drew you to the law, or was there something else?
When I went to college, my undergraduate degree is in psychology, and I went to the University of Wisconsin in Madison. And I really didn't think about it very much until my senior year, when I had to decide, hey, am I going to try and go into grad school in psychology, or would I rather go to law school? And so, up until that moment I took the LSAT, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. But a lot of the people I've looked up to, historical figures, people who've made a difference, have been lawyers. I mean, I look at, Abraham Lincoln, I look at Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I look at all these people who have done so much good, and so many of them are lawyers. And I thought it was an opportunity to help other people.
So I'm curious, though, speaking about RBG, do you have a judge, perhaps on a local level or perhaps on a different level that you admire the most?
Well, I won't go into local people because I don't know that I should be doing that, but sure, there's a lot of Thurgood Marshall. There's a ton of people that, in the Supreme Court throughout the years that were amazing people.
Like when you think about judges or justices like Thurgood Marshall, I mean, what is it about him that really draws you, or that you want to resonate?
I look at people like that who really fought for the little guy, who stood up to big government, who stood up to the police, who stood up to authority and did the right thing, even though it might have adversely affected their lives at some point. I think it takes a lot of bravery to stand up to what seems like an impossible task.
Do you think that sometimes lawyers are put in those uncomfortable positions, to fight for the little guy?
Well, lawyers are always put in uncomfortable positions.
But I mean, I'm sorry, I meant like judges on the bench. I mean, do you feel that, that's one of the reasons why you want to be a judge, is so that you can make calls for the little guy whenever it's appropriate?
Yeah, I certainly want to be there to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to be heard. And, obviously that means everybody. I hope rich people get their fair shake as well as poor people. But I think it's easy sometimes to overlook somebody because they don't have money. And I think sometimes those people, as a judge, you have to say, stop, we need to hear this person. too much of what you see in court is processing files, going through things quickly, just trying to get done with the call. And that's important to do, obviously, because you can't delay justice. I guess justice delayed is justice denied. But at the same time, you want people to be able to be heard. You want to consider those positions. You got to remember, when you've been doing this for 28 years, you've, gone through years and years of humiliation. And because of that, going to court's no big deal. But for a lot of people, it's scary. They're afraid to be able to talk to a court, talk to the judge, deal with lawyers. And they're sometimes dealing with things like, will their children be taken away? Will they go to jail? And I think a judge has to, first of all, make court comfortable enough where people can feel that they're a part of the system, that they're going to be heard, that they're not going to be run over.
So speaking to that point about judges making litigants feel comfortable, what are some other qualities that you think make a good judge?
I thought about that a lot recently, obviously. And, there are things that you think are important that may not be as important. Like, for instance, you think, well, you got to be smart and know the law. And yeah, that's true, but you can look it up. A part of being a good judge is not everybody knows everything. A part of being a good judge, just say, I don't know, I need to look it up. And you could get away with, not being the smartest person in the world, not being the most genius in remembering cases. But what you can't get away with is not wanting to look it up, being lazy, not caring about people. So I think it's almost a matter of being a good person is more important than being a good judge. And then if you're a good person, you'll put in the work to make sure other people are treated with respect.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I'm curious, Scott, I know that you just spoke to my mediation class at the University of Illinois, and I know that you are also a fellow mediator here in town. And I'm curious about your perspective in the role of alternative dispute resolution, specifically mediation, with the court system, and how you would plan to use mediation, if at all, if you're elected.
Yeah, one good thing about mediation is, I talked about sometimes courtrooms feel more like they're processing people just because there's so many cases. And sometimes mediation is a way of, is another alternative for people to be heard. And sometimes you can avoid the court process entirely that way. So it helps courts by avoiding litigation, but it also could come to resolutions that may be better than the resolutions a court could come up with. Because, in mediation, you don't have to follow the rules of evidence. Everything is going to be considered. You're going to have more time. There's not some rush for the next case. And it gives people an opportunity to perhaps even present more of their case than they would if they were in court. And there's a lot of alternatives like that in different areas.
I think you're right. Scott, I recently had a mediation and people were yelling at each other the whole time. And, at the end of it, we got it resolved. And I think just giving people that time to, let their emotions out, to be heard, is a great thing. And so I'm thankful for the court system, and I'm also thankful for, mediation too, and allowing that complement to happen. So talk to me more about the specific position that you're running for, Scott, and also about your campaign.
Well, I'm running for the 6th Circuit Judge. So we've gone over the counties, and I still apologize to Piatt County. My sister lives in Piatt County, and I was just there the past week. So it's a great place. But yeah, it would be throughout the 6th Circuit. And again, I don't know the specifics of where I'd be or what I would be doing. That would be, depend on where I'm needed, I guess.
Is it a 6-year term, Scott?
Yeah, I think it's a 6-year term. I think after 6 years, though, you could be, they vote for retention. So it's not a formal election after 6 years.
So if anybody is interested in getting involved in your campaign, how do they reach out or contact you?
Well, I've got a website, Scott Lerner for sixthcircuitjudge.org. I've got a Facebook site. They could certainly give me a call anytime at the office. So I shouldn't be hard to find.
What have been the biggest lessons for you so far in just, running a campaign, especially in the middle of COVID?
Well, everything's a lesson for me because I've never run a campaign before, and I've certainly never been in a world with COVID before.
Yeah.
So it's all a lesson. I think it's harder to get the word out. I think you can't go door to door. You can't go to the parades or the broomcorn festivals or the different festivals, apples and pork and apple festival. I'm trying to think of all the festivals we have, but there's sweet corn festival.
What have been some of the biggest lessons, so far, like during this campaign? Have you been surprised about anything?
I guess it's hard to say. I think I'm surprised by everything because it's all new to me. But I think just the process of trying to deal with the COVID and trying to get the word out is certainly harder to do in this environment.
Yeah, absolutely. So is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners, about you or, your campaign, anything like that?
It's, I guess where I would like to leave it is that, if people vote for me, I can't say specifically where I'll be or what I'll be doing, but I will certainly be working hard for the people of the Sixth Circuit and want to be there to do that.
Well, thank you so much. And, I'll definitely try to put your contact information, pin it in the comments on YouTube. So thank you so much for your time, Scott.
Well, I appreciate your time as well.